Hello and welcome to today's webinar, Leveraging Your PMS Data to Maximize Autumn Revenue. I'm your host, Zach Demby. I'm the Content Manager at Revinate. And before we start, a couple of things I wanted to go over. So know that you are all on mute to preserve audio quality. Please use your control panel to ask questions during the webinar. We'll have a Q&A at the end. And finally, the webinar is being recorded and you will all receive a recording of it at the conclusion of the webinar. So let me introduce our panel today. So today we'll be hearing from Erica Rich, Head of Product and Customer Marketing at Revinate, Dave Double, Head of Marketing at Clink Hostels, and Ruben Westmeyer, Head of Channel Sales at Mews Systems. And we'll take a quick look at the agenda here. We'll talk a little bit about driving ROI with guest data, how your PMS can improve the guest experience, how to leverage PMS data to increase revenue. We'll take a look at a case study from Clink Hostels, and then we'll do a Q&A. So without further ado, I will turn it over to Ruben.
Thank you very much, Zach. Nice to meet you all. My name is Ruben Westmeyer. I work for Mews. Mews is a PMS, property management system, and we work with Revinate and Clink Hostels. And we wanted to share our thoughts on how the PMS can improve the guest experience by connecting your tech stack with an open API. I just wanted to give you a short presentation and introduction to how a connected tech stack can improve the guest experience, and can show you some examples of how Revinate works with this data, and you can be more effective and improve your ROI. If you can click, Zach, to the next slide. Thank you. One back. Yes, this is the one. Thank you very much. So I do not want to scare all of you with this picture. It looks very complicated, but this is actually how a lot of hotels have organized their tech stack at the moment. What you can see is that there's a lot of legacy systems these days which are not connected and not integrated to each other, leading to a lot of siloed data. That means that all the data is sitting in one place and it's not transferred to other places, or not centralized and available for different departments or integrations. So what we see a lot is that integrating the legacy systems is an expensive matter, and it could take a lot of time. So we see that a lot of hotels will resort to manual dealing with this. So they will find workarounds. They will start working with applications like Excel or Crystal reporting to get that data in one place and present the reports that they need to, or get the data to other places where they need it to. So that leads to a lot of incomplete or even false information or duplication or information. Above all, it's annoying work because it's very manual and time-consuming, and that all prevents hoteliers to spend time actually with their guests. So if you can click to the next slide, Zach, then this is how in Mews we see a tech stack of the future, or actually the modern day. So we have a connected tech stack, which means that you can create an ecosystem of integrated solutions. The data can flow between the PMS and all the different integrations, so that can be pulled or pushed to the PMS itself or to the applications, to make sure that the data is in the right place, and above all, automatically in the right place. So there's no manual action to be done. It's all automatically, and you can find the right information without duplication or anything like that. So we have a plug and play principle. So within Mews, you can activate integrations or solutions with the switch of a button, because we've done. It means that we don't need to build every time. Every time you request an integration, we don't need to build the integration, but we just connect the accounts between the PMS and the solution. So the integration is built once up front, and then we will provide the API key to the solution, which means that you can connect those two solutions and the data can flow between the two solutions. And you can pick any solution that you like, because it's an open system and you can choose any one of your liking. And there's also there's no limit in the number of integration that you want to choose. And also, we don't really believe in the fact that you have to pay for two systems to talk to each other, so there are no integration costs associated. If you can click to the next slide, Zach. So how do we make this possible? Well, we use a unsung superhero, which we call the API. The API stands for Application Programming Interface, and it means that you can connect different systems and allow information to flow through the systems and trigger actions. So any change, action, or addition in one of the systems, so in Mews or in any other solutions, will be transferred to the other systems and back again. So to give you a short example of how this works, you can actually see the API as a waiter in a restaurant, because when you sit in a restaurant, it's pretty hard to get your food and drinks without a waiter. The waiter is the messenger and takes up your order, tells the kitchen and the bar what you want to drink, and they actually bring it to your table. So without a waiter, that would be very difficult and it would become a mess. So the API is the same principle. It's actually a messenger from one thing happening in one system, and make sure that that information goes through the right system and triggers the right actions, and even triggers the right action or information back to that one system again. So this is how an API works. I hope everybody gets it, but that's a bit of an easy explanation. Next slide, please. So I just want to show you how this would work in practice. So here you can see the different products of Revinate: hotel marketing, guest surveys, and online reputation. And let's go to see how the guest surveys would look like. If you can go to the next slide. So this is the guest survey of Revinate. So we all know that they do amazing surveys, and that they have an amazing portal where you can see dashboards and graphs about all the information that you have. But what you really want to know as well is when a guest has left a previous complaint and they're returning to your property. What you want to do is that you want to make sure that your staff recognizes this complaint and make sure that they double check that this does not happen again. So if you can click again, Zach, then we can see that on the timeline of Mews, you can see at the guest Westmeyer Ruben, you can see two icons. First of all, that means that it's a returning customer, and I see a little flame there. So that means that something is wrong with this customer, or not wrong, but something happened to this customer, and this is they left a previous complaint. So I don't need to go into the dashboard of Revinate to find anything beforehand, or to make a note, or even write it on a post-it on the day of arrival from this guest. Mews does it automatically for me. And they actually also post the previous complaint in the customer profile. So if you can click again, Zach, then we will see on the guest profile notes that the air conditioning was not working. So without having to do any manual action, my front office staff can see up front before the guest arrives in the hotel to see, okay, they left the previous complaint. What was the complaint? I'll go, check in the room to make sure the air conditioner is working today, and make sure that I actually make a mention of this when the guest comes to check in, that we double check this, and then we make sure that the air conditioner is working. This is multiple effects, because not only we prevented another mistake from happening, but it also gives the guest a sense of urgency and personalization, because they did the effort to tell this complaint, and we actually read it and we made sure it doesn't happen again. So if we go to the next slide, then I wanted to give you an example of hotel marketing. And to the next slide. Thank you. So as we've seen before, this is the customer profile within Mews. It contains information about the guest. But if you want to do effective marketing, you want to provide them with a relevant message to the right people. So it's great to segment people based on all their preferences, their where they come from, their age, and all these things. So again, Revinate has an amazing dashboard. If you can click again, Zach. Revinate has an amazing dashboard which compiles all this information together into one nice overview. And Mews is actually providing that information, feeding that information into that profile. So we can see the last name there. We can see the classification, which is very important, VIP. And we can see even the notes on the guest profile that it's a light sleeper and they prefer soft pillows. It's also listed into the customer profile in segmentation profile in Revinate. So this means that based on all this information, you can enrich it with other information from other systems, and then you can really create this powerful segmentation on which you can base your marketing campaigns to make sure that the message that you send out is actually relevant and aimed at the right people. So before I hand over the floor to Revinate to talk about how to leverage this data into effective campaigns, I really wanted to conclude that thanks to the Open API, you can save time, you can prevent mistakes or unwanted situations from happening, you can personalize the experience a lot, and you can send the right message to right people to make sure your marketing campaign has the effect that it needs to. So I hope you enjoyed seeing some of the relevant examples today. And I would like to give the floor to the experts in marketing, Revinate. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ruben. Always so interesting to learn a little bit more about how impactful and powerful an open API can be. It's really because we have such amazing PMS partners like Mews that Revinate is able to ingest your guest data and help process it for you in a way that can really drive significant revenue for you. I was going to focus a little bit more specifically, since we're already halfway through summer, who can even believe it, focus a little bit more on how you can start thinking about and driving some bookings for the fall now that we're getting closer and closer to that booking window. I always like to start here. The value of being able to integrate your hotel CRM with your PMS, with a data partner like Mews, is that more and more consumers are demanding personalization. I know that we hear that term being thrown out all the time, and there's a reason for it. It's because there's actually truth behind it. 78% of consumers say they express the desire for personalization. 74% they feel frustrated when content isn't personalized. And guess what? They're actually willing to spend more for a customized experience. Now, we are all in hospitality. It is our job to provide personalized, memorable experiences for our guests. And the only way to do that is by being able to access your guest data, but more importantly, knowing what to do with that data so you can actually deliver on that promise. Now, when we talk about one of the most powerful ways you can do that, personalize the experience, communications, drive revenue, there's really one tool in your toolbox that is more powerful than the rest, and that is email marketing. And I know for a lot of people out there, they feel like email is dead. There's so many other marketing channels out there. Why would I focus on this? But that's actually the leading way that consumers prefer to hear from their favorite brands. They prefer it over social media, and it actually has far more of a higher conversion rate than social media. So I am going to focus a little bit more on email marketing today. And guess what? It is the most preferred method of communication by millennials. And that's a question we get asked all the time. Well, hey, I'm trying to market, more towards a younger sect. But the thing is that they still want to hear from you via email. Snapchat, Instagram, all of that hasn't quite taken over or shown the conversion that email marketing still does. So when I'm talking about, how can we create those personalized experiences, where does it all start and how does it work? Well, it really starts with your data by integrating with your PMS like Mews, and then having a CRM that's able to process that data by helping you and ultimately helping you build loyalty because you're providing that really customized, personalized experience that guest is going to want to return again and again. That, of course, is going to help drive revenue. And because all of it is streamlined and in most cases automated, guess what? It's going to save you time, resources, and in the end, some dollars as well. We also know that when you start personalizing your communications, when you're segmenting your data that you're getting from the PMS, you're actually going to see better engagement with those campaigns. That one size fits all approach to marketing, as we all know, no longer applies. We're marketers, but we're also consumers. So we know how it feels when we receive campaigns that have absolutely zero relevance to us. We turn a blind eye. We delete them. Worse yet, we unsubscribe. Even worse yet, we mark them as spam. So that actually shows when you start segmenting your database based off different interests or relevant demographics, and you start customizing those messages, you'll actually see higher open rates, click-through rates, and conversion rates. And this is actually all pulled from our 2018 customer data. Next slide. So this was something that Ruben already showed. This is a picture of our rich guest profile. When you build that open API from the PMS into your CRM, you're able to pull all this really interesting rich guest data to help you understand exactly who your guest is. So stay history. We actually give you the opportunity to figure out your guest preferences. We'll pull in survey information. Are they a promoter of your property? Are they a detractor? What does that mean for you? And then also engagement. How well have they actually engaged with past communications and campaigns? That all rests for you in one place. And what's cool about a rich guest profile is the more data that gets added over time, the more powerful and the smarter these profiles become, allowing you to market even better and show stronger results. So this is something that I'm actually announcing here for the first time that we're really excited about. We have a great partnership with Mews, and because of that, we're able to build this brand new feature. Now, this has not been rolled out yet. We're not going to see this until next quarter or so, but you'll actually be able, we're going to add a field in Mews in the guest profile where you can actually directly link to the rich guest profile. So when you have a guest come up and they're checking in, instead of having two screens open, you could actually go straight from the PMS and click into the rich guest profile and know everything you need to know about that guest. So again, brand new, still being built, and we're very proud to be partnering with Mews on this new awesome feature. So let's take autumn, for example, but of course this would apply no matter what season you're going after. But when you're thinking about, all right, this is what I have coming up, it's going to be autumn, who should I send maybe an autumn package to, or who would be most interested in knowing what our rates are coming into this year? Do I want to do a pre-season flash sale? It's probably going to be a shoulder season for you, which gives you a lot of flexibility and opportunity to fill those rooms. Who should I look at? So again, taking your PMS data, you can segment it in a number of ways. A couple of examples that I have here for you include, who are those guests who stayed with you the past few autumns? So in our platform with the Smart Segment Builder, you're able to segment off a check-in date was perhaps after September 1st, and they checked out before November 30th of 2018. And then you can do that again for 2017. And now you have all of your autumn guests from the 2 previous years in one segment. And maybe you want to customize that message in your email campaign to say something like, we know you enjoy autumn in San Francisco, where I live. It happens to be our best season. Why don't you come back and do it again? Here is a special offer just for you as a thank you for your past visit. That feels very personal. It feels very customized. It feels very, very relevant. Now, let's say you want to trim that even further. Well, because we have access to your PMS data, we also know how much that guest has spent. So why don't you send even a more exclusive offer to those guests who have spent the most amount of money with you while on property? So this second example, I believe, was anyone who spent over 3,000 pounds last fall. I'm going to send them a very exclusive offer. Maybe it's an offer on my suites. Maybe it's something special happening at one of the outlets, so on and so forth. So some interesting things you can do to really silo your database and figure out who you want to market to get a great message for this coming season. Okay. You know, we're all about generating revenue. So you've got that person to book, you sent them a super relevant campaign, they made that reservation. Well, now how can I make even more money while also at the same time enhancing their stay? So it's a win-win. And it's really as simple as including upsells in the pre-arrival letter or a separate upsells email. And when you do this, again, using your PMS data, we can see what room they're already in, and then we can send them an offer to upgrade a category or two above that. You can also include some great amenity upsells in that as well. When you do it with Revinate, it's really great. You can do strike through discount pricing, banners to call out a special amenity, and we can even personalize the landing page so it feels very personal. I think I've pretty much chatted through these, but you know, again, it's incremental revenue. There's no commission, super easy to use, and it helps you manage your inventory. Certainly, if you have a couple rooms available to upgrade folks, you can do that. So a lot of benefits to the hotel, but also the guests, because again, it makes their stay even better. All right. Here's a fun example of another way that you can market to your guests and drive some incremental revenue. I love this example. So because we, again, integrate with PMS data, we're able to do event-based marketing. So this is an example of the moment that they actually check in, you can send them a great offer that says, hey, welcome, you know, present this and get a discount for the bar, the spa, so on and so forth. But really neat that you can actually automate these types of campaigns based on an event like checking in, checking out, so on and so forth. If information on email marketing stats and figures for the hospitality industry interests you, I believe this is the only type in this available. We actually released our latest 2019 email marketing benchmark report just last week. So I definitely encourage you all to go in, check it out. We actually do divide it by market, so you can see exactly how your region is faring and how your own property is faring. And with that, I'm going to pass it over to Dave. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and thank you for having me today. Listening to you guys talk through technology, I've always been on the other side of that as a customer, listening to what people can offer me. So what I hope to bring to today is some experience of a user side of that journey. Clink Hostels, if you have the next slide. Clink Hostels was established by two traveling sisters, Anne and Shelley Dolan, in 1997 for, at the time, what was a new generation of young explorers, as we all now know as flashpackers, backpackers, and a cacophony of different categories. At Clink, we offer guest-centric experiences to young travelers, typically between 18 and 35. We offer activities like music, arts, art partnerships, walking tours, bike tours. It's very much an experiential thing that integrates guests with the culture. Very much hosteling was all about that before Airbnb came along and coined the phrase, introducing you to local experiences. We have properties in London and Amsterdam, two properties in development in Lisbon and Dublin. We cater for approximately 585,000 guests a year. We have 363 rooms across our properties. And value proposition is very much what we're all about. It's very important to us, you know, what we do and what we offer. And in marketing, that's me setting the guest journey. And we're always looking at how we can do things differently and how we can, internally and externally change practices to stand out in the market. Why Revinate? Well, we look at our brand and we look at our net promoter score, our referral rate after customers leave. And it's important to us to look at that as a metric because it sort of tells us the likelihood of guests coming back and staying. We very much have an approach, or if we get the customer journey or the guest journey correct, then everything else follows thereafter. So listening to customer reviews allows us to target more specifically using the data we have to put our brand out there in the correct way. Challenges we faced before moving to Revinate and Mews as a combination was just simply we didn't have the connection to the data. We knew the customers were coming through. We could do surveys with pieces of paper, but we couldn't really bring that all together. Next slide. So data is at the core of everything we do these days. Big data is just a term in marketing that sort of says you just collected a lot of it and no one knows what to do with it. It's not new in hospitality. We've had PMSs for a long time. We've had EPOS systems, and sometimes those two don't talk, but we just collected this mountain of data and just didn't know what to do with it. So systems that integrate those systems are the way forward, like Ruben said. Capturing accurate, clean data is really, really important for us. But it's also good to recognize that less is more. It's better to start with a smaller, cleaner database that can build into a useful tool than an inaccurate, high volume data set, which becomes completely useless as you grow it. We have used other systems in the past. I'm sure other marketeers, you kind of flick between systems hoping that email can pay out. I have struggled with email over the years because simply email is dependent on the people in the system. And when you are sold email systems by various companies, they don't often come with a solution of how to get the people into the system. It's always talking about how you deliver to those customers. But the most important thing is getting the database clean and populated. Understanding customer needs allows you to segment that data in the right way. Just going back to my point before, 7 years of email marketing in hospitality and using different systems. We've used Revinate for approximately 18 months. And in that 18 months, we've made more money with the Revinate Mews combination than the previous 5.5 years of using other various systems. So I think that's quite a powerful takeaway for me. It's highly recommended that with your data, you understand what customers are coming through your doors, whether you're a hotel or a hostel. A guest survey is always highly recommended. We run guest surveys on a regular basis so that we can compare the data in the system with what actually guests actually think and feel. You can get that data from Pew Research Institute, OTAs, local tourist boards, etc. But marketing for me is about creating value for the business, setting the stage for the customer journey is really important, because if that initial stage isn't done correctly, your revenue specialist can price competitively and your operations team can deliver a fantastic experience. But if they're expecting 5-star and they walk into a hostel, then we've got trouble. So what data does is allow us to look at through Revinate marketing and survey is to look at the data, see what people are talking about, and try and match the messages that we're sending out to them specifically for the people that are coming through the door and the people we want to come through the door. So next slide, please. So our tactics for getting data into the system, I've tried many different ways over the years. Websites, tick boxes, I'm sure you've tried them all yourself, but what's really good with using Mews is that when guests are arriving, we can send them a pre-arrival email and try and get check-in information before they arrive. So when the guest is standing in reception, one it makes check-in quicker, but also allows the front of house team to have more time to find more information out. We also have an electronic passport scanner, which speeds things up nicely as well. One of the successful ways we've got data into the system is we used to have a sort of ransom system where that Wagamamas and other big companies use, where you sign up to our Wi-Fi and you tick this box and fill out your information, and you basically allow us to send you information. But we've changed tactics on that. So now we offer a free Wi-Fi, high-speed Wi-Fi with just a tick box, no strings attached. But the second box to opt in comes with win a chance to have free breakfast for the duration of your stay, or a travel card for the duration of your stay, or bike rental in Amsterdam, or even win the cost of your accommodation back. So 3 times a month we go into the database and we select winners, and it gives us social content as well, and that's very popular. And also you're getting people into the system who, you're giving them something, but importantly, you're asking information off them personally, asking them, can we contact you? And it's good to have that rapport from day one. Front of house, once you have data into Mews, and obviously that will feed into Revinate so we can contact them, it's important that you have high percentages of data fields populated. So passing that data to your GMs and your front of house managers to set targets around goals. Data capture is important, and obviously rewarding them accordingly if that's something that you have control over. Next slide, please. Traditionally, it can be hard to pull data from a PMS. So, as Ruben was saying, integrations and APIs are so important moving forward. The information has always been in PMSs, and you can rip all that data out in raw format and CSV, but you're going to need an Excel professional who's a genius at pivot tables, filters, if-then rules, etc., to make any sense of that data. But one way that I use Revinate in a kind of unintentional way is that I can run segments in order to build data for market research purposes. So I might build a section that I don't email to, but I want to know how many people have come to Amsterdam more than 5 times and how much have they spent, and what's the ratio of male to female, just so I can put that information through social media or other forms of marketing. It's also quite a powerful tool, which you get in that, guys, very basic database functionality without having to go down the route of access databases or integrated systems like a solution called Altrax, where they're very expensive. And then also from a GDPR point of view, every time you add a pool of data, you then have to have procedures around how you manage that data, opting in, opting out, procedures if you have a data breach, etc. So API integration means all your data stays in the same place, but it's just quizzing other services to pull that information and make it useful. It's just something, a good takeaway, I think. Integration makes data actionable for me. The only kind of data is actionable data in my world. So it's really worth knowing that even if you have 100% of fields populated and the best will in the world, there is still some limiting factors to how actionable that data is. And that comes down to staff and creativity. If you're a small hotel or you have a small marketing team, you have 1,001 things to do. With Revinate, it gives you the power to send multiple small campaigns out, and as I'll show you in a minute with some examples, the power of that can be immense. But you still need the time and investment to think about those campaigns and to spend the time to segment and really drill down on your customer data. Next slide. So 2 examples I've got for you here. I've decided to not give you super flashy segmented versions of, to make Clink look fantastic, but 2 really basic campaigns. This one was 2019, selling 2019 and 2018. And this was when we were first using Revinate, and we were getting to grips with the power of smaller and smaller segments. So with this one, we actually sent it out to a really large segment, thinking, let's just give it a whirl and see how it goes. But it was a really good discount. It's 20%. We did 72 bookings. It made £2,840. It all seemed fantastic, but it was very generic. It's just jumping on the Black Friday bandwagon. Everybody's getting 1,000 Black Friday emails. It wasn't very specific. It wasn't very targeted. It was just, let's put an email out because we kind of feel we should. And if we compare that to the next slide, which is a more refined, there aren't multiple segments in here. It's simply who stayed in Amsterdam this time last year over a certain period. And we're playing here on the emotive feeling of what it was like back then when they stayed, when it was autumn, when the leaves are falling off the trees. It plays to that past experience and drags them back to think about the holiday they had before. And the segment is vastly smaller, but it made more money because it was more focused and we spent more time thinking about that. So 2 examples. I'd say the first example, it worked, it made money. But if you don't have a lot of time, those campaigns do work. But if you have more time to send multiple, more refined campaigns, then that 4,282 times by multiple small campaigns means that you're not badgering every customer in the database. You're being very specific, and essentially you're making more money out of the platform. And that's a wrap for me, guys.
All right, Dave, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. So we are a little over time today. So we are going to skip the Q&A. However, if you have asked a question, we will follow up after the webinar via email. Before we close out, I do want to thank our hosts today, Dave, Ruben, and Erica, and of course you guys, the audience, for joining us. And we hope you join us for our next webinar.